If you're hesitant on whether to rent or buy a property, watch this video. Renting or buying? Mild or spicy? Drums or flats? It's a question as old as time. What it really boils down to is knowing your own situation and seeing what option would be the best for your needs. As a result, we will separate ourselves from the myopic convention that buying is always better than renting and really get to the pros and cons of each. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe and follow me on other social media platforms for more real estate content. Now let's begin. Let's start this off with the cost of owning and buying a property. The upfront cost of a house has a rough estimate of around 3% on the conservative end and 8% on the aggressive end. The upfront costs cover things like down payment, earnest money deposit, lender fees, and I can honestly go on and on. I'll put a list on the screen. Just a quick note, we can never be sure of an exact dollar cost for the upfront cost until the deal closes. Anything before that, and it's anyone's guess, and all we can do is provide a general estimate of the cost. Right, you just paid 3 to 8% on your property and you own a house. You think, great, all I need to do now is just pay my mortgage. However, there could be extra costs associated with home ownership applied on a monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis. The list of expenses can be a mouthful, so I'll just put the list on the screen. Now hold on, we're not done yet. We have to factor in the maintenance of the home itself with any vital appliances within the property. If the AC goes out in the middle of the Vegas summer or the whole roof starts leaking during the Vegas monsoon season, the impetus falls on you to fix it. At the very least, you will have to maintain and upkeep all the elements of a property that make it livable. Right, so we just discussed the upfront cost of buying a house, paying any regular fees associated with home ownership, and the cost of maintaining and repairing the property. This cost of ownership never ends, even after paying off the mortgage, which could take a couple of decades. Now, let's compare the upfront cost of buying a house to renting a house. As far as the upfront cost goes for renting, you can expect to see anything from 1 times to 1.5 times the monthly rent for deposits. So if an applicant wanted to apply for a property listed at $2,000 a month, the applicant should expect to pay anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 in deposits before moving in. In terms of monthly cost, on top of the rent, you should expect to pay the same old utilities as you would with a house and renter's insurance. That's it. The landlord also repairs any appliances and important features of the house in case they fail. With that being said, you're probably wondering, why the hell should I even buy then? Well, that leads us to cover the pros of home ownership. Although you're paying those additional costs of ownership, that home is yours. As long as you don't violate the rules of the HOA and any state laws, you're free to do as you wish. You can customize your home to fulfill your needs. If you want a backyard decked out with a pool, patio, and grilling area, that's totally your call. If you want to modify the layout so you can turn the loft upstairs into another bedroom, go ahead. Try convincing a landlord to put a resort-style backyard and modifying the structure of the property to put an extra bedroom. If you can persuade your landlord to do that, you should negotiate on behalf of countries on the international stage. And while the cost of ownership is nothing to sneeze at, you're effectively putting back money into your property, which is a material asset. Whereas with a rent payment, that money goes directly to the owner. Like other assets, it can depreciate or appreciate in equity. It just matters what the environment of the market is like. You could also leverage your property's equity with a financial instrument such as a HELOC if you choose to do so. Not to mention, you can have potential tax benefits on your property as well, but you could talk to your CPA about that. Now that we kind of knocked down the position of renting versus the position of home ownership, let's elevate it back up a bit with some pros. While the rent goes directly to the owner, the lower cost of renting is still apparent. Not to mention, it is a smaller commitment compared to the standard 30-year mortgage. With the aforementioned lower cost of renting, a tenant can sign on to a 1-year lease and enjoy the flexibility that comes with that short-term lease. A tenant can live in a city that piqued their interest to see if it really is for them. A tenant can move more freely if their lifestyle or job requires them to be on the move across the nation. Not to mention, if worse comes to worse and the tenant loses their job during the lease, the consequences are less dire than losing their job during a mortgage term. The same also applies if the real estate market depreciates. Ultimately, the question of whether to rent or buy comes down to what type of commitment you need. Would a short-term commitment fit best, or would a long-term commitment suit you better? If you're planning to live in an area for no more than 5 years, then you should probably rent. If you're planning to live in an area for more than 5 years, you should probably buy. Well, that does it for today's video. If you have any questions about renting, buying, or real estate in general, please don't hesitate to contact me over the phone, email, or any of my social media platforms. This is SanJuan with Vegas Strong Real Estate Group, signing off.